So the day I get to Paso Robles, when I get off the bus and go in the chow hall, everybody knows I'm due to arrive. So they're banging their forks and knives on the table, and trying to intimidate me, like this whole dining hall full of all these guys, these young prisoners, are trying to intimidate me. And I'm smiling, saying, yeah. Then when I come to the show, my receiving unit comes in and all these other units is there. And they tell me, yeah, you better not come here and you better not come to our cottage. And you better not. I said, what's the biggest, toughest cottage? They said, Estrella. I said, that's where I'm going. And I made sure they sent me there.
So when you were at CYA in Norwalk, right? You spent, 3 months?
No.
Tell me about.
Spent a few weeks there. You only spend several weeks there because they're doing an assessment.
That was a few weeks. Okay.
That's a reception and guidance center.
Right.
Where they receive you and they take you through a battery of tests, physical tests, medical tests, mental tests. They try to see what your educational level is. They look at your background, they look at your temperament, they psychologically evaluate you, and then that's how they determine where to send you. So I forced them to send me to Paso Robles. And because of the nature of my beef, they took me a lot more serious than they did these other kids who were in there for incorrigible, for burglary, for attempted robbery, for fighting, for ditching school, for truancy. They were only going to do an average of regular program was 5 months, which would be 3 months and then 2 months pre-parole, preparation for parole. All right. Anybody who would do 6 months and 9 months, that was an extended amount of time. I was in there with a year continuance. In other words, I was like a lifer. I was going to do at least a year. And anything beyond that year that was acceptable to them. So I became a legend in YA because I did more time in that time period than any other kid. And so I was a legend because I did all that time. All right. So I was sent to Paso Robles because I demanded to go to Paso Robles to be around more mature people.
How old are you?
Then?
When you get there?
When I get there, I was 14. I got there a month before I turned 15. I got there November 14th, 1961. The age group was 15 to 17, but they had some guys there older than 17 and a few of us younger than 15.
Are you still little at this time?
Yeah, I'm still little. When I was 14, when I got busted, I was 5'3". I weighed 105 pounds. By the time I get to Paso, 3 months later, I'm probably about 5'4", 5'5", and probably weigh about 115 pounds. I may have gained about 10 pounds, but I'm still a little guy. And that's why the senior counselor, who I got arrested for plotting to kill up there, that's why he didn't like me, because he was like Jack LaLanne. He was an old dude. He was muscle bound. He could do all kind of gymnastic tricks and stuff like that. And he wanted bodybuilders and weightlifters around, and I'm a little skinny, scrawny guy. Plus, he had been turned against me by the senior counselor in receiving. He'd come around and visit the room. And he would say, my name is so-and-so, I am your senior counselor. And if you have any problems, I want you to tell me your problems because I will solve your problem. What's your problem? I said, I don't have no problem. I'm okay. And every night, I would tell him the same thing. And he resented that. He was mad at me because I wouldn't let him solve a problem. So one day he came to me and he asked me, he says, tell me something. He said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my mother had already taught me ever since I was about 6, 7 years old. They were coming out with IBMs, and what I wanted to be was an IBM repairman. Told me that was a good job. And so I told him I wanted to be an IBM repairman. So he looked at me. So when the senior counselor from Estrella Cottage, Mr. Fanning, come to pick me up and take me to his cottage, I was taken to the door to meet him. I was introduced to him, and he said, I'm your senior counselor at this new cottage that you're going to, and if you have anything that you want to know, you ask me. And the other guy said, he already knows everything. He don't need to ask you. So he put a bad taste in that guy's mouth about me from day one. Mm-hmm. And that guy used to keep me in the hole. If you had a fight with my cousin, I would go to the hole. They had 40 rooms in the hole. And before I left Paso Robles, I had been in all of them at least 2 or 3 times. I was a very resistant character. For instance, I just didn't take no mess. And if I didn't like something, I wasn't afraid to speak out. Matter of fact, that's when they first started calling me an agitator. Because I used to tell stories and I used to talk to the other kids and tell them what was right and what was wrong, what they should accept and what they shouldn't accept, and where the line should be drawn. And so I was accused of being an agitator, and I used to hate that. I used to get upset when they say, you're an agitator, and they would write that up. He's an agitator. He's an agitator. And then when I wouldn't take stuff from white abuse, I became a racial agitator. Okay? And so, like, sometimes when they come to take another a kid to the hole, if I didn't think he deserved to go, I would ask him, you feel like going? I said, because if you don't, you ain't got to go. And when they would come in, I said, you don't want to go? And I said, go stand over there. And I would go get a bunch of dudes and stand them in front of them and tell the guy to come to take him to the hole and say, man, you got to come through us to get him. You know, I would organize armed resistance against him, you see? And so I was always plotting to overthrow the governance of the institution. I always found some reason why they shouldn't be able to do us like this. We ain't gonna complain to nobody, but we just gonna put a stop to it. We're gonna teach them you can't treat us like this. And so I was always trying to conspire and organize. And they saw me in the process of doing this, so they wanted to get rid of me because I was what they call a troublemaker.
Right.
Yeah, right. He's trouble. All the other kids, they go for this shit. He's telling them this ain't right.
Yeah.
And he's trying to encourage them to put up a rebellion.
Right.